Yo, YouTube, what up? I'm here with my first fantasy football talk of the season. We're going into week 3. There's a lot going on. Just want to get some stuff off my chest about the injuries for everyone, obviously, but I want to talk about some of the disappointment so far and some of the shocking players. I'm going to start with some of the disappointing players for the season so far after 2 weeks of football are number 1, Caleb Williams for the Bears. He was the number 1 pick in the draft. Super high on him. I'm not a big college guy, but I was even high on this guy. He's going to get better, but I thought he would get right to it. Respect to him. The next player is Zamir White for the Raiders, 2 games in. He was drafted kind of early for everyone, probably like 4th or 5th round. There's not a lot of running backs this year. Everyone kind of thought he was going to be a big one. I took him in a league that you have to start 3 running backs. He is one of my guys. You can't really afford to sit him. You're going to start him, probably even in a 12-man league, but he's splitting with Alexander Madison. Doesn't look too great so far. Hope that turns around. I should have stayed with this one with Caleb Williams, but DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen missed game 2, so I can't say much about that. He also dropped a touchdown in week 1. And DJ Moore just hasn't looked great with Caleb Williams because Caleb's not getting no time back there from the line. He's also nervous 2 games into his career. The biggest disappointment is probably going to be Tyreek Hill. He's moving on to Skylar Thompson, new quarterback. And they played with each other last year, but he's running into a brick wall here without Tua. Hopefully this guy just throws him a ton of targets like he did last year, and he's just a volume guy. He did have a lot of good games with the guy last year, but when you draft Tyreek Hill, first-round pick, first top 5 pick, you want to be the starting quarterback for the team. Even if this guy, they have a little history that's good, but disappointment for Tyreek Hill. Hopefully he proves me wrong. I have him on a team. But on to some of the shockers so far is Alvin Kamara, biggest shocker of the season for a bunch of dummies. I took him in the 2nd round in 2 separate leagues, and both the leagues laughed at it. A lot of the guys thought it was a horrible pick. But he's the number 1 running back after 2 weeks. 4 touchdowns last week against Dallas. 44 points or 46, depending on what style league you play in. God bless you, Alvin Kamara. You're off to great things. Chris Godwin is another really big shocker for me. I skipped on him in a couple leagues because I feel like Mike Evans was most dominant last year. Godwin did end the season well, though. He's off to a great start. Ramondre Stevenson, another one. Everyone knew the Patriots would stink this year. They are 1-1 and pulled off one of the biggest upsets of the year in week 1 against the Bengals so far. But Ramondre Stevenson's off to another great start. Top 5 running back so far after 2 weeks. But if he stays healthy, he's a volume guy. They did just pay him in the offseason. They might pound him into the ground for the next 2 years and get rid of him. But another one is James Cook. He's off to a great start. Week 1, he didn't get the touchdown. Still had a great game. I think he had like 18 points. And then in week 2, he had 3 touchdowns by halftime. He went off last week. He's going to have a huge year. Josh Allen's still going to run in a lot of the touchdowns. He's not going to have 3 touchdown games all the time, but I think he is going to have a touchdown almost every game. Those are my biggest shockers so far and disappointments. But what I really came to this for was the players that are hurt. And it's a long list of them. A lot of early round picks. It sucks this is happening. It's leaving a lot of sour taste in people's mouth that play fantasy football, because obviously you want to win, not just for the money, for the championship, so you can have bragging rights for a year. It is cool. I mean, the whole point of playing fantasy football is for enjoyment and trash talking. Yeah, to win money, that comes with it, but you shouldn't be playing it just to win money. It's not fun. But Christian McCaffrey is the biggest disappointment to the season so far. He was the number one pick in 90% of the leagues that I've heard of and talked to. I know a lot of fantasy football players, and he was the first pick in every league that I've seen. But he hasn't played a game yet. He's not going to for a while. He's on the IR, dealing with Achilles tendonitis and a calf strain. So who knows if he's even going to be ready after the 4-week IR. He could stay on it for an extended one. I did take him in a league, so it is annoying, but he's a guy who won me a couple championships before when he was healthy. My second biggest disappointment is A.J. Brown. He played week 1 against the Packers, had a great game, and then he missed week 2, and the Eagles lost. He's looking doubtful for week 3. It's another guy who was a first-round pick, and people aren't getting much out of him quite yet. And these football injuries are weird, the hamstrings and the calf strains, because it's not something you can just kind of be tough about. Like, a lot of guys can be tough with, like, the shoulder injuries or the ribs because you avoid big contact, or at least try to. But when you can't run and you're just going to aggravate it every time, it's like you can't rush guys back with those injuries that McCaffrey and AJ have, and a few more of the guys we're going to talk about have the same problem. But hopefully A.J. Brown's back sooner than later. He's about to miss his second week in a row, and hopefully that's it. My third biggest hurt of the season so far is Puka Nacua. He was more like a second-round pick for a lot of people, but that's still super early. And he played one game and got hurt. And he was going to have a huge year, I think. He had such a good rapport with Matt Stafford. And last year was insane. He ended the season as like a top 10 receiver. That's annoying. He's another guy who landed on the IR. They're saying for him, though, it's probably going to be longer than the 4-week IR. More like 5 to 7 weeks, which is horrible. I don't have him in a league, but I know a few people that do, obviously. The fourth biggest hurt of the season is Isaiah Pacheco, and it could be the longest one. He broke his fibula in week 2. He's not going to play in week 3, or I think they said for 7 to 8 weeks at least. He was another guy who was a super early second-round pick. There's not a lot of running backs out there this year. And with some of the running backs, at least with guys like McCaffrey, you can get a good handcuff with Jordan Mason. But for Isaiah Pacheco, they don't have like a super reliable backup running back. They have a rookie running back who's going to get a shot. They have Samaje Perine, who's more of a third down back, a passing back. He does have big games once in a while, even when he was a backup in Cincinnati. Joe Mixon missed time. Samaje Perine stepped up big, but he is a little long in the tooth. And the Chiefs just signed Kareem Hunt. He's going to get a shot this weekend. I don't know how much he's going to get. He had a little hip surgery. No one else is taking him, so I'm sure he doesn't look too great. The Chiefs just know him from years ago. They drafted him. But Isaiah Pacheco, another hurt. Another real big one here is Deebo Samuel. He was more of like a 3rd or 4th round pick, but he was like for receiving wise, he was the number one option on San Fran. He's out. Whoever has Brandon Ayuk is in store for a great fantasy season. Until Deebo comes back, he's another one dealing with a strain. So I believe he's going to be out a few weeks at least. Kenneth Walker, he's another guy in Seattle. They don't have a super great handcuff for him. If you have Kenneth Walker on your team, they have Zach Charbonnet and another guy he's splitting with. I can't think of his name. But Kenneth Walker played week 1. He's done. He's going to be out for a few weeks. He's another guy who's hurt every season, usually the ankle. I think that's what it is for him. But another super high pick. Not a lot of running backs out there this year. People are really getting the crap end of the stick here with the running backs. And most of these guys I don't have yet that I've talked about. So I'm not complaining about these guys because they're on my team. I'm just saying. One of the only guys I really have that landed on this big list of hurt players is McCaffrey. But I'm not too mad about that. The one that really has me pissed off is Cooper Kupp, who's a little bit down on the list here. But my team that I drafted in that league is really good. It's off to a 2-0 start, putting up a lot of points. About 120 the first week, which is about normal. But last week put up 140. And I also have Travis Kelce, who gave me nothing. So that could have been an easy 150-plus week if Travis is just normal. The Cooper Kupp one I'm really pissed off about, but I'm going to get back to him in a few. The Kenneth Walker injury sucks, though. Like I said, there's not a lot of running backs out there. That's why it's a little worse for that position. But the next one here is T. Higgins. He was drafted in about 3rd or 4th rounds. Probably 4th. But he's super good when he plays. He has huge games. Every once in a while he has little ones. Like past couple, he's not the most consistent player, but he goes for big boom type games. And he's holding out or injured, whatever the cause is. He hasn't played yet this year. And that sucks for someone you drafted that high. Like, you, even if they're not performing, you want them to play. Like, you're not even getting your chance with them. But with T. Higgins, he has a chance to suit up in week 3. He's probably not going to get the normal share he would get, which is like 90 to 100% of the offensive snaps. He's probably going to come back and get 50 or 60% this week. Ease him back in, whether he's hurt or it was just a holdout because of the money thing. He hasn't been with the team, so. But now I'll get into Cooper Kupp. And he's another guy who landed on the IR. He didn't yet, but he's likely to land on the IR. He's doubtful for this weekend. I hope they just put him on the IR before this game, so the 4-week thing can just start already. I can get him back for like week 7 if he's ready. Or week 3, 4, 5. Yeah, week 7 if he's ready. They're saying he's doubtful. If he just misses one game, I'll be happy as pig and crap. But he was like I think I took him in the 3rd round, and a lot of guys laughed at that pick. Week 1, he had me 34 points. I knew he was going to have a great year. I think last year it wasn't the normal Cooper Kupp year because he was playing through an injury. I think he got super healthy in the offseason, and maybe I was wrong because he got hurt. Cooper Kupp, I need you back sooner than ever. My next conversation is going to be for Raheem Mostert. And he wasn't a super early round pick, but he was more of like a 5th round pick. Big name running back, though. He had 21 touchdowns last year. I didn't take him in a league this year. I was aiming for him. People were taking him right before me. But if you had 21 touchdowns last year, it's hard not to take that guy like that again next year, no matter how many yards he gets. If you can get him at the flex position or something, he gets you, and even 10, 15 points a week at your flex is not bad at all. I'll take that in any league. I've won a lot of fantasy football championships. I've lost a lot of football fantasy championships, but rarely ever have not even made it to the playoffs. Like, making it to the playoff percentage for me is super high. All humbleness to that. It's just, I love football. I watch too much of it. Literally on the couch from like 9, 10 in the morning till like 8 at night. Then move into bed to watch some of the late night games. I don't usually stay up for the whole thing all the time because of work, but I know a lot of fantasy football. I like talking about these disappointing players, as bad as it sucks, but another huge one is Jordan Love. It kills the value of so many players. Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, obviously Jordan Love. He got banged up against the Eagles real bad. He's going to miss a few weeks. And Jaden Reed, he was like a sleeper pick. I was telling a lot of people he was going to be good this year. He kind of looks like a younger Deebo Samuel to me, which is great to say about somebody because Deebo is incredible when healthy. But Jaden Reed went off against the Eagles out of the slot. He had like 140 yards. He was the number one receiver in week 1. And now the Packers are on to Malik Willis, who just threw his first passing touchdown in his career. He's been in the league for 3 years. And without Jordan Love, they're not going to throw the ball a lot. I think they threw the ball 13, 14, 15 times last game. And Josh Jacobs had a ton of carries last game. It's good for Josh Jacobs that this happened, for Josh Jacob owners. He's going to have a lot of love as long as Malik Willis is around because they're not going to throw a lot. But, man, disappointing for Jordan Love, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson I have in a league, but it's a 14-man league, so you're going to have players like that on your team. Not that he's bad, but he's not like a... If you're in a normal 12-man league and you're starting Christian Watson every week, that's a horrible pick. In a 14-man league, it's not bad because there's it's a super flex league. There's no kicker. But Packers offense is going down the drain for fantasy football for sure. And another one is Evan Engram. Super disappointing. Not a lot of tight ends in fantasy football. He got called inactive right before week 2. Kind of unsure what happened with him, but he's seeming doubtful again for week 3. And there's not a lot of tight ends. Not that the Jaguars' offense is performing in any way, but maybe if he was out there in week 2, it would have looked better. He's still kind of young. He's fast. He had a good year, really good year last year, and the year before that. Since he's been with the Jaguars, he's been performing well. But he's another guy that sucks for Evan Engram owner. Not a lot of tight ends. You're not going to get a go backup for him from Jacksonville, at least. Maybe you can get Hunter Henry off the waiver wire or something, but... And then Joe Mixon, he might not play here in week 3. He had an amazing week 1. Week 2, he got banged up during the game. And week 3, he's not going to play. Houston, you're not going to get another super great handcuff for him as well. I believe it's like Dameon Pierce and that Dare. I'm not even going to try to say his last name, but he's more of a third down back. And there might be one more guy there who's going to get... Oh, yeah. Cam Akers. He stinks. I wouldn't even take him. If you have Joe Mixon, don't even try to take Cam Akers. Hopefully that don't turn up to be sour, but I think Joe Mixon's only going to miss 1 week. He'll be back after this one. Texans are going to throw the ball a lot this week to make up for Joe Mixon being gone, but that's my biggest news for fantasy football this year so far. Maybe I'll do more of these coming up, depending on the news that's going on around the league. But hopefully all these guys come back sooner than later. We don't wish injuries on nobody. It sucks for fantasy football, though. I put out a good amount of money to play in the leagues I play in. None of them are super small. The cheapest one's like $100, but a couple of them are a little bit more than that. Not by much, but it's annoying. If your players get hurt this early in the season, it's not fun. You got to make adjustments, but that's what being a good fantasy football player is about, is drafting a team full of good players for kind of be prepared for stuff like this. I'm 2-0 in my best league, I'll say. I'm number one in the league. It's only 2 weeks in. Have the most points, and I'm 2-0. 1-1 in 2 other leagues, and I'm 0-2 in a league that I have Tyreek Hill, Marvin Harrison Jr., Aaron Jones, James Cook. Believe it or not, week 1 I got blown away because the team I played went off. But week 2 took a small loss. Caleb Williams and Travis Kelce are showing up to be the best pick so far. That's kind of like the rest of that team I got, but still primed for that team. 2 of them are ESPN leagues. One of them's Yahoo, and one of them's it's called Fantrax. It's a 2 quarterback league. You don't have to have a tight end in that league. It's just like 3 running backs, 2 quarterbacks, and 4 wide receivers / tight ends. But let me know what you guys got going on this year. If anyone wants to talk about any other injured players or thoughts on waiver wire and any guys, I'm willing to help anyone out or give my suggestion at least, whether it's a good take or not. I can give you my take. I have to make a little adjustment for Cooper Kupp. I did pick up Demarcus Robinson. Whether that pays off or not, I know he's had good playing time before when guys like Cooper Kupp or Puka were hurt. But I have Jordan Mason for the league I have McCaffrey in. He's been performing well. I've done so far all right with some of these injuries at least. Although haven't had the best luck with some of my mid-round picks, I say. I did take Christian Kirk in a couple leagues. He hasn't performed well so far. Mike Williams as well. I didn't know he was easing back into things with injury, but in week 1 he took like 4 or 5 snaps, and in week 2 he went up to 65% of the offensive plays, so he's going to be back in no time. But I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Comment, like, subscribe, share with a friend, drop a comment, let me know who you got that's injured, and I'll see y'all next time.